Hey folks, this is Kalani. Professions are going to be incredibly important in the Shadowlands expansion, partly because of the new legendary crafting system which allows you to craft your very own legendaries, including choosing which slot you want to equip them in, what effects they will have, and even what secondary stats they will use. A big part of that system is tied to your professions, which will automatically make professions something that everybody will be interested in. Then there are also some big changes to how crafted gear works. We have so many more consumables to think about, and every profession will end up being important in one way or another. So, which professions should you take into the next expansion? What's going to be good for some quick gold, and what's going to end up being the most useful? What are the best professions in Shadowlands? Let's take a closer look and try to find out. Before we jump in, be sure to pop by our live stream sometime over at twitch.tv/KalaniTV. We stream every Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday and Saturday at 12 PM PST, and we have a couple more beta keys to give away. So if you're still itching to get into the beta for a sneak peek at how Shadowlands plays, swing by and say hi. We always love chatting with you wonderful folks too, so I hope to see you soon. Let's talk about gathering first, because let's be honest, gathering is always going to be great for quick gold at the start of an expansion. All gathering professions will see some significant changes going into Shadowlands, the main thing being the removal of ranks for your gathering skills. This seems to be more of a baked-in thing rather than a series of quests to progress through. You start off by collecting scraps of herbs, and as your Shadowlands herbalism improves, you gather actual herbs. So you don't have to worry about quests or rank progress, just your actual herbalism level. That's an interesting return to a system more like the earlier days of WoW, and it also works for mining and skinning. It also means that swapping away from a gathering profession and picking it up again won't have any of the catch-ups that we've seen before. You'll have to grind all of your levels again. Swapping around will not be quite as easy or ideal as it was in BFA or Legion. The other major change for mining and herbalism is the separation of zone materials. There are 6 herbs and 6 ores total. 1 common ore and herb that can be found anywhere, a rare ore and herb that can be found anywhere, and then there's 1 specific herb and ore for each covenant zone. This is going to make farming specific materials much easier, but it's also going to force you to choose what you want to farm. You won't come across more than 3 ores or herbs in any one location or zone. So spending all your time in one zone might net you a lot of specific materials, which is great if you're trying to sell them and they're some of the more expensive ones, but you're going to have to hop around zones a lot if you're farming for personal use. If you combine these changes together, gathering professions are more of a locked-in choice, and you can specifically target certain materials. If players can't swap to gathering and instantly relearn all of their ranks, you might actually see a lot less people gathering overall, which means higher prices for your items. Then you can also look at which materials are selling for the most and specifically farm that zone, giving you some control over your gold earning potential. Raw material requirements in Shadowlands are also going to be quite high, as we will learn about in a moment, so doing double gathering is still going to be an easy and very stress-free way of earning a boatload of coins in the next expansion. But if you want to make some serious gold in Shadowlands, you have to look towards legendary crafting. This is the big curveball in Shadowlands, because any profession that heavily ties into legendary crafting will likely make the most gold, especially at the very start of the expansion, because everybody's going to want to get their legendaries as quickly as possible. To craft yourself a legendary, you need a base item that comes from crafting professions. That means tailors will be needed for cloth legendaries, leatherworkers will be needed for leather and mail legendaries, and blacksmithing will be needed for plate legendaries. Jewelcrafters can also craft rings and necks for legendary items, so that's worth considering as well. Then you need 2 missives. These allow you to choose your secondary stats, and they come from Inscription. There is a missive of crit, a missive of haste, a missive of versatility, and a missive of mastery. You need 2 of those for every legendary you create. So all 3 main crafting professions, Jewelcrafting and Inscription, tie into legendary crafting directly. The base crafted items and the missives will likely cost you a lot of gold, so you either need to be able to craft them yourselves or you need to have enough gold to pay for them. If you're the crafter, you have the added benefit of selling your goods and services. To upgrade your legendary, you also need to craft lots, and I mean lots of these base items. You need to craft 10 rank 1 base items to be able to learn the rank 2 base item, and it only goes up from there. The only way to upgrade a legendary to a higher item level 1 is to get one of those higher ranked base items and then take that to the rune carver with your existing legendary and a whole lot more soul ash. So even if you yourself only need 1 pair of cloth pants crafted, because that's all you want, you will actually need to craft way more than that if you want to craft your own upgraded legendary base items. That means that no matter who you are, if you want to craft all of your legendary stuff yourself, you will have to craft more than you need, but no problem, because that's where you can start selling them and make some extra gold. And then if you get access to some of those higher ranked base items quickly, that is the key. That's the kind of thing players will pay a premium for. I can see the crafters racing to get the highest rank already, and the players who win that race will most likely make the most gold. So you kind of have a choice to make with Shadowlands professions. Do you want to craft your own legendary pieces? Or do you want to buy them? If you want to craft them, your profession choices are kind of locked in early. The crafting profession that makes your desired pieces, and the gathering profession that goes along with it. So if you want to make plate pieces, take blacksmithing and mining. If you want to make mail or leather pieces, take leatherworking and skinning. If you want to make cloth pieces, take tailoring and enchanting. There isn't a gathering profession for tailoring, so enchanting works really well as a little side gig there. Crafting professions will be useful for more than just legendary crafting though. You can outfit yourself in a variety of item level bands thanks to the new Crafter's Mark system. You don't get too many recipes as a crafting profession in Shadowlands, but there's a new feature that allows you to add optional crafting reagents to your crafts. The most important one here is probably the item level changing Crafter's Marks. Basically, you can craft the same item, but with a higher item level if you have a higher Crafter's Mark. I imagine later on in the expansion, instead of adding new recipes, they might just add new Crafter's Marks, so you can make the same gear, but at a higher item level, and keep that going as we go through the patches. Now, the professions actually create the marks themselves, so you don't have to worry about relying on another profession for that. The current highest mark that you can make on the beta right now allows you to craft item level 168 gear, which is just 2 item levels lower than heroic dungeon gear. That means crafted gear can actually allow you to skip over a good chunk of the dungeon gearing process, and believe me, people will pay good gold to save any time they can. So there's another way to make some gold with crafted professions, and you can craft yourself and your alt some gear too. There's more to this than just crafting. You need special materials for every legendary base item recipe. Enchanted silk, enchanted leather, and enchanted bars. From the name, you've probably guessed where these come from. Enchanting. There is no way around this. Enchanting has their hand in every cookie jar right now, which means it's going to be a fantastic all-round moneymaker in Shadowlands. You have more enchants than you did in BFA, so that should help keep your gold flowing, but enchanters are the only source for this enchanted material stuff. And remember, you need enough of this enchanted material to create your base items, but also to create enough base items to reach the higher ranks of those base items, and then you need it again to craft the higher ranks of the base item. This is why I said raw material requirements are going to be so high in this expansion. You need all of the raw materials to get to max level crafting, then you need enough materials to actually craft your base items, then enough materials to craft to rank up your recipe several times, and now you also need more raw materials to supply to enchanters to get this special item back. The gatherers in this expansion are going to do so well for themselves, but back to enchanting. So you have a fantastic tie into legendary crafting, and you also have plenty of enchants to craft as well. Enchanting is also a standalone profession. You don't necessarily need anything special to go with it, which is why it works so well alongside tailoring. You can also do a gathering plus enchanting if you want, or a crafting plus enchanting and just buy your raw materials, or use an alt for the gathering. Either way, enchanting looks to be great for gold making in general. And then there's Inscription. I've already mentioned the missives, which pull Inscription into the heart of legendary crafting, and just like Enchanting, every legendary craft will need missives, and therefore they will need Inscription. You don't have to have Inscription yourself, you can buy the missives, but if you're the scribe, you can probably make a whole boatload of gold selling the missives. It's also worth noting that any crafting recipe, you know, just the bog standard crafted gear that you can upgrade with the crafter's marks that we talked about earlier, you can use missives in some of those recipes to dictate stat allocation as well. So you have plenty of demand for the missives, but Inscription usually does really well without the extra help. Dark Moon card trinkets have always been amazing at the start of expansions, and players pay out of the nose for them to get them early. You could probably make bank with Inscription just on Dark Moon cards alone, but now there's this extra player in the ring just waiting to make you more gold. So Inscription is going to be another great choice if you want to make gold as your focus in Shadowlands. And how could we forget Alchemy? Alchemy doesn't have any super new cool bells and whistles tied to legendary crafting anyway, but it does have some more consumables. We have flasks, a wide array of potions, and some new weapon oils. Keeping the raiders, mythic pluses, and PvPers well stocked with their power-ups has kept Alchemy on the front lines of professions for every expansion up until this point. Adding in more consumables just makes that better. Going into the Shadowlands, a lot of older potions, especially utility potions, also will not work. The dev team decided to put a level cap on pretty much every old potion, so the only consumables players will be using at max level in Shadowlands are the potions and flasks from Shadowlands Alchemy. That should drive up the price quite nicely. If swirling potions and mixing your cauldron is your kind of thing, Alchemy should be a fine profession to stick with. With both Alchemy and Inscription being very valuable professions, it's also worth noting that herbalism will likely be the best gathering profession for pure profit once again. Herbs are needed to supply both Alchemy and Inscription, and from the looks of it, they're going to need a lot of herbs to keep everything flowing. So if you can only squeeze one gathering profession in, make it herbalism. Because of this, any alts that I have will also all have herbalism just to maximize my gathering potential. I mentioned earlier that Jewelcrafting can make the ring and neck base items for legendaries, and that's kind of it. Gems haven't been a great moneymaker ever since sockets were based entirely upon RNG, though Shadowlands does offer a direct farming method to add sockets to gear, just like in patch 8.3 with Rathian, so at least that offers some hope for gems, but outside of that, it's not looking too good. Originally, jewel crafters were the source of missives. It was actually just gems at the start of alpha that dictated stats on crafted gear and legendaries, but they have since lost that key role in Shadowlands that's now just tied to Inscription. So they have gems, they have their rings and necks, and they can create some legendary base items. Compared to everything else, it's just not that exciting. Another quick note before we start to wrap up, Shadowlands is going to be the perfect expansion for crafting alts. As you may have noticed by now, you can't actually source everything you need for a legendary on one character, and that's by design. You need a crafting profession for the base item, you need enchanting for the enchanted materials, and then you need inscription for the missives. So one additional character would be needed minimum, which is actually okay, because leveling up or even playing alts in Shadowlands is going to be so much easier. If you only need enchanting, for example, you probably don't even have to level that character. Just send it as many greens as you can make, craft or find, and boom, enough enchanting materials to level up to make your enchanted cloth or leather or whatever you need, and all you have to do is send the alt the materials needed and then send back the end result. Super simple. You can do the same thing with Inscription, Alchemy, Jewelcrafting. You can even set up a gathering alt that does nothing but gather. I recommend a druid for that one, as do many others. When flying comes around, flight form is overpowered for gathering, to put it lightly. So if you haven't picked up alts for crafting or professions before, just something to think about. It could definitely be a perfect time to start in Shadowlands. It could make the entire process so much easier and more profitable for you. So, what is the best profession, or at least best profession combo in Shadowlands? It depends on what you want to do. If you want to craft your own legendaries, go with your armor type profession and the gathering profession that supplies it. In the case of tailors, pick up enchanting or herbalism as your secondary. Now, if you want to make gold and you're happy just buying whatever you need to craft legendaries, I think Inscription is the way to go. Pair it with herbalism to help supply your own crafts, and you should be set to make a lot of gold, really, especially with missives. Enchanting would be a close second, in my opinion, and then Alchemy would come after that. Alchemy might end up taking the lead later on down the line in the expansion, but I think Inscription we'll still have a great amount of staying power with how important missives are to the entire crafting process, and whenever a new patch comes around, chances are we're going to get some more legendary ranks to work with and more crafted gear that we can craft. So missives aren't going anywhere anytime soon. Now, if you want to be lazy, just easy gold that you don't want to have to think about, pick up mining and herbalism. Skinning could be worthwhile in some cases, but I would always at least pick herbalism. Herbs are going to be worth so much in this expansion, it's going to be absolutely unreal. Now, after all this discussion, you may have noticed that one profession is missing. Engineering. To put it lightly, with everything else going on in Shadowlands relating to crafting, engineering just can't keep up for the most part. It's going to have some fun gizmos, as per usual. You can get to craft your goggles again. Wonderful. And we do have confirmation of a new Shadowlands engineering battle res. So that's definitely cool and useful, especially in dungeons. But if you put it up against everything else that's here, it's absolutely more of a fun pick than a profitable or super useful pick. If you want to have some fun and you want to run engineering, have at it. You do you, but not what I would suggest if you want to just focus on gold. Now, if you're curious what our plan is, our mains will have double gathering going into the expansion and we'll sell absolutely everything as we level, just to take advantage of the crazy high prices in the first few days of the expansion. We'll also be keeping all of our gear from quests and drops and saving them all for when we swap professions at max. When we hit max level, Nadara will go from double gathering to enchanting and tailoring. That's the best pick in my opinion for a cloth wearer who doesn't want to jump into inscription or alchemy, and because we have saved up our greens, she will have a lot of stuff to disenchant at max level to get a head start on that. For my main, for my warlock, I will swap my mining to enchanting first, so I will be herbalism and enchanting, disenchant all of my greens from questing and leveling, pass all of those materials along to Nadara for her enchanting to help that, and then swap my enchanting over to inscription. Having the combination of tailoring, enchanting, and inscription between our two main characters gives us everything we need to make legendary items, and we can tap into several key markets early on to generate crazy amounts of gold. That's the plan anyway. Hopefully it all falls into place. But that's what I think are the best professions and best profession combos going into the Shadowlands expansion. Have you decided what professions you're going to run with on your main characters, or maybe even your alts? You're going to have an army of alts for crafting? Probably. Are you going to focus on legendary crafting, or maybe something else to try and make some more gold and just resign yourself to buying everything else? Leave all your thoughts in the comment section below. If you want to chance at some of those beta keys, or you just want to pop by and say hi, you can find us over at twitch.tv/KalaniTV. We stream every Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday and Saturday at 12 PM PST, and watching the stream and coming to say hi is one of the best ways you can support the channel right now, and if you ever wanted to be included in the long list of names at the end of every video, a subscription on Twitch is the easiest way to make that happen. You get a free sub to any Twitch channel if you have Amazon Prime too, so be sure to take advantage of that. A big thank you to everyone who has subscribed on Twitch already, and to our supporters over on Patreon. You can see their names floating by on screen. If you want to join these lovely guys and gals, well, now you know how. Remember to leave a like just below the video before you leave, and if you want to see more, make sure to subscribe. But apart from that, thanks for watching folks, good luck and have fun, and as always, I will see you next time.